the Gambler. Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Check. That's check. Enter it now.
FoxPHLGambler.com. Once again, FoxPHLGambler.com right now.
It's 3-2. And that's driven out toward right center field and hit pretty well. Long run for Rojas. Looking up. See you later! Opposite field homer for Cooper Hummel into the Astros bullpen. 1-0 Houston. Here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss. Can't hold up on the fastball away, and that is the ball game. Cooper Hummel's home run in the 8th inning, the difference tonight, as the Astros defeat the Philadelphia Phillies 1-0.
Cannons are blazing out there in H-Town. H-Town on the rise. Of course, unfortunately, I have to open up with the fact that the Phillies ended up losing a tough one last night. 1-0. Good afternoon, everybody. Sean Brady on a Daily Ticket with you here. Still hot, still rolling solo on a Wednesday. NBA draft this evening. Major League Baseball action as we speak. Got some other odds and ends to get to as far as NFL is concerned. Some shifting of some movement. How about some line movement? Yeah, and on June the 25th. Very interesting. We'll get into a little bit of that. And oh, by the way, I also have to correct something. Yeah, this is an issue. I'm live. I'm by myself. I do a show. I know better. I know better to trust the internet. I know better. And if you listened yesterday, as soon as I said it, I go, just want to put out there. And I normally am not that guy. You know, I'm not the allegedly. You know, like if you just say allegedly, you're good to go, right? Like no one's going to press any charges. Allegedly. That's what they said. Allegedly. This is what took place. Allegedly. I am not that type of person. But as I was saying yesterday, I go, you know, this could be something that did not take place. And I know that everybody is running with it right now on the timeline, and I'll get into it a little bit later. I'm not going to open up with it, but that was shame on me. So I have to offer a correction, not an apology. I'm not afraid to apologize from time to time, but a correction. All right. Remember they used to do that in the papers. I'm sure they still do. 3 days later. Oh, we made an error all the way at the bottom of C6. All right. Let's talk about the Phillies and the Astros last night on a June the 24th ball game Tuesday evening in Houston. 1-0 final score. We talked a lot about that game yesterday with Kyle Fisher. Great pitching matchup between Valdez and Ranger Suarez. Lineups that have potential, but you knew that the juices were going to be going. It was a low number at 7.5. The Phillies, I thought, were a decent play at plus 129 just because of the performances that Ranger Suarez has been giving the Phillies as of late, basically this whole season since he's come back. You know, ultimately, I thought that they were a good play, and it's one you take on your chin, right? It's one that you say it's a loss. It was the wrong side, but all in all, plus 129 for the Fightins down there in Houston. Give it to me. Anyways, 1-0, as I said, as your final score, a total of 9 hits. We talked a lot about the strikeouts yesterday with Ranger Suarez, and his was at 4.5 at minus 145, if I'm not mistaken. So extremely juiced up. But you knew he was going to get that number as he's hit it every single time out this season when it's been 4.5. But bottom line is he got the 7. He went over the 6 is what I said I would stretch it up to, which got you into plus money. But as you heard, it's a tough pill to swallow in the 8th inning. And, you know, Cooper Hummel comes up, left fielder, who, oh, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, at this point in time, I thought they said last night on the broadcast his only home run. Is that correct? Why can't I find it here? You got at-bats, runs, hits, doubles, triples. There it is. It's a second home run on the season. So not a guy that's known for exactly what he did last night, but credit where credit is due. Ranger Suarez made a mistake on pitch. He took it opposite field, and that was all she wrote. But, it's funny because I was looking at my timeline earlier today, and Harry Mays, the great Harry Mays, we're swinging and ding it, which will be coming up today, 6 p.m., said he enjoyed that game. I'm right there with you here. It's funny, and this isn't, anything at Harry. I was laughing at the fact that, like, we have to put something out there like that. Or do we, right? Like, was that not universal last night for people to watch those two lefties, those southpaws dueling it out, performing at that type of level with these two teams that are in first place that potentially could give us a rematch from 2 years ago in the Fall Classic? If you didn't enjoy that game last night, I want to hear from you. Why? How did you not tune into that game going, you know what? I'd rather see a game that's 6-5 or give me some home runs. No, that was awesome. It was two great pitchers where we built them up. They didn't need it all that much. They've been performing. Hell, that is now, I think 9 straight starts for Valdez to be undefeated, to come away with the victory. I think 8 out of his last 9, as far as wins is concerned. Dude's been on fire. It's been incredible. But we know what he's capable of. We watched it firsthand, and I know he had his moments where people were like, again, last year, I think there were a good stretch that the batters were able to get around on him, and we're knocking him around pretty good. But that's a guy that I would love to toe the rubber, as they say, for me every 5th day. Again, I loved it. That was a great game. I'm stealing Harry's tweet on that one because I would love to get anybody's thoughts that would look at that game and say, you know what? It was boring. It was a dud. I want some action. I want some energy. I want some juice. And I think we're going to butt heads over that. So if you want to get involved in that conversational piece, please do so at Fox PHL Gambler, at Fox PHL Gambler. You got to roll on, and this is what it's all about, because guess what? Zach Wheeler on the mound tonight in Game 2 here for the Titans, taking on the Houston Astros. Game 2 in Houston, of course. 8:05 first pitch. 8:10 first pitch. Minus 164 for Zach Wheeler, and Colton Gordon getting the start tonight for the Houston Astros. We'll talk a little bit about Gordon and why he's getting the start this evening. But bottom line is that you have to look at the Phillies here, and that's why they're priced up as high as they are at minus 164 with Wheeler on the mound. 7.5 is our total. Again, this is the reason why I look at Zach Wheeler as a potential really good pick for Cy Young. The money was there, 11-1, 12-1 in some shops, just as last week was concerned. I know there's a guy by the name of Paul Skeens who's actually pitching and having trouble today. How about that, sports fans? Wow. In the 4th inning, the Pirates are now trailing the Brew Crew 4-0. I think Skeens had a high pitch count heading into the 2nd inning. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick as far as what he did today. And I'm not going to sit here and say, then now's the time to fire on him. No. Again, prices are what prices are, and they're going to fluctuate throughout the course of 162. So if you don't see a price you like right now, maybe it will change over the next 2 to 3 weeks, month, whatever it may be. And then you could get involved with the award season as far as Cy Youngs are concerned. But right now, let's see here. You have – why is this not working for me? Excuse me. I'm struggling with the computer. Yeah, he gave up 4 runs in the 2nd inning. So Skeens currently still in the game. 4 hits, 4 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts with that low, still 1.85 ERA. Anyways, back over to Zach Wheeler tonight. You got to like him. Again, that's a Houston Astros lineup that does not strike out a lot. So that could potentially be something that I'm targeting. I know everybody loves to take Zach Wheeler over on the strikeouts. It's not something that maybe I would be pushing tonight. Let's take a look at what those numbers are right here, right now. As far as Zach Wheeler on DraftKings Sportsbook, the total for Wheeler tonight is 8+ at plus 130. 6.5 is the under at plus 120. It's a good number. It's Zach Wheeler. I hate to say the under there, but I'm probably going to, if you gave me 7.5, I would love to take it on that one. But 6.5, I could see him getting around that number. I would still take the under plus 120 on Wheeler. Definitely not taking the over a 6.5 and minus 155. Like I said, that is a good Astros lineup that does not strike out a lot. So something to keep in mind there as far as that game is concerned. Again, all eyes on the Phillies and the Houston Astros. I saw MLB Network did a huge breakdown on them earlier this morning. Of course, ESPN spent a little bit of time on it because just two great pitchers going head to head. And oh, by the way, you just look at what the season success is right here, right now. Both teams in first place. It would not shock me if the Astros are potential to win the American League. I think there's some good money to be made. We went over those odds yesterday. No reason to do so right now. But ultimately, it's a weak American League. You got the Yankees, you got the Detroit Tigers, and you have the Houston Astros, and a pretty big drop-off to the rest. For my money, again, I think you look over in the National League, as we were discussing as well yesterday, the National League, I don't put the Mets in the category as World Series contenders. I just don't. I would look at the Cubs as more of a World Series contender than the New York Mets. I would look at the Reds potentially as contenders just because of the pitching. And I know that, you look around, everyone's got flaws, but I'm not sold on what the Mets are as far as a rotation is concerned. Great bats, great offense, pretty big drop off from 1 through 4 through the rest of the order. But, when you look at the league as a whole, National League and American League both, and you're looking for value, looking for plays at this point in time on June the 25th, I would probably say that there is a better chance of Houston and the American League being a little bit more of a contender as a whole than the National League. But anyways, we'll talk more about the big picture stuff as the summer rolls on here. Right here, right now, let's remove the World Series conversation, please, if you want to mind. And let's talk a little bit more about tonight's game. Again, Gordon, he will be making his first start against the Phillies, the first interleague appearance for him. He was a AAA guy brought up, and he has issued 5 walks and struck out 34 in 7 starts. So something to keep your eye on right now. As far as where I'm at with him, potentially the book isn't out there, but I do like the chances for this Phillies lineup to go down there, especially after what took place last night. You have to imagine that if you're in the offense and they go out there and you're not able to get a run home and your pitcher goes out, mows down 7, gives you 8 solid, 7+ solid, and you still lose that game, it's gonna irk you a little bit. It's gonna frustrate you a little bit. And you better not follow up by not giving run support to your ace and Zach Wheeler. So I do like the Phillies' chances this evening to go down there and get that victory. Again, Wheeler on the mound, so it's juiced up at, once again, here on a DraftKings Sportsbook, minus 164, plus 144 for Colton Gordon. Just not a good game, really, to talk about anything from the offensive side for the Phillies. Struggles across the board, 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position last night. So hopefully that will change. Of course, it starts and ends there. You got to produce on the offensive side. I do believe Wheeler will get the job done. Again, under on the strikeouts. Give me the Phillies, minus 164. All right, from the fightins and the world of Major League Baseball, over, if you would not mind, to the NFL, the NBA draft, as I have NFL draft written down. But they use it both there. It's the NBA draft chime and the NFL draft chime. But a big one for us here in Philadelphia, of course, 76ers with the 3rd overall pick. Who will they be selecting? Money coming in on VJ Edgecombe right now. Most sports books are floating around the minus 700, minus 750, minus 800. It is looking like this will be VJ Edgecombe. Sam Oshtry is going to join me coming up at about 4:05 later today from The Score. We will dissect all things VJ Edgecombe. Where does he fit? The expectations next year. And that's one of the big questions that I have today is, number one, is Daryl Morey not on the hot seat? Mark Henry Jr. hopped on the show yesterday, and he made a great case on why he's not in his mind. And he did say that he was probably going to be in the minority with that take, but I don't care about that. I like big picture question. And I know professional sports aren't what we do on a day-to-day, but if you were hired to deliver, and let's say you're hired to deliver ratings to a radio station, You're hired to deliver ratings to a television show. You're hired to, one of my friends left a bread company to take on another bread company, and he was brought in to help out sales, right? To take some of his partnerships that he's built up over the years, the relationships that are the foundation, everything being successful in the business world, to carry that over, sure, to the new destination. But at the end of that destination, in the fine print of that contract is, yeah, we're paying you X, but this is what we expect. And if you don't meet those numbers, what are we doing? We got to find somebody else. Daryl Morey has not delivered for the 76ers, right? Like, this team has not been a success under Daryl Morey, correct? Sure, you could find some things that he's done right. Sure, you can look at some draft picks that you're like, damn, Daryl Morey had the eye for that. Great job. But this team has not gotten to the promised land. This team has not taken the step that we expected them to take in the last 2 to 3 seasons. They have been the better team in some of those spots. They had an opportunity to beat Boston in that series with the game 6 at home and choked, right? Like, you're hired to be fired ultimately in all things professional sports, but Daryl Morey, like, what type of lifeline is this guy on? If his seat isn't hot, what are we doing? What world are we living in right now? This is Philadelphia. You got to deliver. You got to bring me a championship. You have to give me a path to an Eastern Conference Finals. You got to take me to an NBA Finals. And oh, by the way, something that we haven't been for over 2 damn decades. I'll tell you what. I am excited about this. This is the first time that I've actually had juice for the 76ers since November. Last year was so disappointing that it pained me to get home, put my butt on the couch, and watch them for 2+ hours. It pained me. First time that I actually have a little bit of positive juice, positive energy to talk about this franchise and what's going to take place tonight. Don't you dare screw it up by trading back. Go and get the player, and hopefully VJ Edgecombe is the guy, and he will turn into something that can contribute next year. What that is, I really am all over the place when it comes to expectations. I don't really have much just because I don't know where he fits on the roster. Who's coming back? We still got to answer those questions. But Sean Bernard and I were talking, and Sean's coming up a little bit later at 5 o'clock. Again, we're front and center all things NBA draft tonight. Sean said 25+ minutes. I guess if you're the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft, you better find a way on the floor, or else we might have a little bit of a mistake. But you look around what that roster potentially could be versus what it was last year with the expectations. I don't know. I don't really see that type of minutes coming his way. But again, I could be wrong. And I do know this. If I am wrong with the expectations as far as PT is concerned for Edgecombe or whoever they select at 3, it's probably a good thing. That means he's a hell of a lot better than what I think he is at this current time of his career. All these guys are so young. Edgecombe, 19. Cooper Flagg's 18. Ace Bailey's 18. You just look at some of these guys, and Jared Smith had a good take. Our good friend Jared Smith was talking about the NIL and how much it has changed for a lot of players that are coming out early. But when you are discussed in the top 5, top 10 picks, you've been told that for a long time. That's not going to change. But, man, these guys are so young. So the expectations for them to come in and have an impact on this team with the roster currently constructed with guys who are going to play if healthy, then we'll see what happens. Again, NBA draft tonight, and we will be all over it for you tomorrow, recapping everything. We're going to be live a little bit later tonight via the timeline, and also Sean Bernard will be doing stuff for DraftKings, DK Network. He's going to be running a live blog, so we're going to see ways that we can push that on all of our timelines. But we will go live immediately following the pick, and who knows? I do know this much. We have had some fireworks already in the NBA offseason. It just started. The NBA Finals just finished up on Sunday night. Did you pay attention? Did you watch? Were you one of the 16 million that did tune in? As high as 19 million? Still low as hell for a Game 7, but I digress. The NBA season just wrapped up on Sunday. We've already had major trades, 3 of them, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, only 3, probably more. But 1 or 2 from the Boston Celtics, a team that we thought were going to win it all last year, or at least make the NBA Finals to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Was not the case. Indiana was the better team. Boston did not get past the Knicks and get an opportunity to play in the NBA Finals. Don't know what would have happened, but bottom line is the front office for the Boston Celtics said enough is enough. It's time to move off of big-time contracts between Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. And now there's rumors out there that potentially other Boston Celtic players could be on the move. Look, I'm all for clearing house, not clearing house, but clearing some contracts. Porzingis, I think you got what you wanted. You got the championship, right? The rest is gravy. Drew Holiday, somewhat of an injury last year, right? But I don't remember Drew to be too much of an injury-prone type of player. I could be mistaken on that. Anyways, he's getting a little bit older, so you understand you want to get a little bit younger. And it was a good trade from Boston's perspective. Simons is a good player. And the picks that came in on their way. But here we are, just 3 days since the NBA Finals ended. We've had pretty big trades taking place this week. We got the draft going down tonight, so we're going to see some shucking and jiving up there in Brooklyn. We're off and running right now. What will the Knicks do? Are they going to be making moves? Doesn't seem like that, they were one of the bigger topics as far as conversation is concerned. Teams that would make moves have to get that roster right. Is Cat staying? I think we might see some fireworks this evening. I do. I wonder if our guest will be in agreement with me. Julian Edlow from DraftKings. Great day to have Julian, as he's normally in on a Thursday. Today's a Wednesday with the NBA draft. So he's joining us here. He'll give us the perspective on Boston. You're without Jason Tatum for a pretty good portion next year. And now I'm hearing and reading, again, rumors, innuendo, you want to believe what you want to believe, that Jaylen Brown could potentially be traded? What? I know when you win a championship, and they have multiple to speak on, no doubt about it. They've been a very successful franchise. Sometimes you got to just trust the process. That team has earned that one if you want to use it for them. But if I was a fan of the Boston Celtics and I'm without Tatum and you move Jaylen Brown, I don't know if there was anything back in return that would calm me down. I would be irked to the nth degree. I'd be hot. Those dudes didn't. Jaylen Brown performed at a high level, won a championship. Did it happen last year? No. Guess what? It's tough to repeat. That's why we've had 7 straight different NBA champions. It is tough to repeat. I know we all want to give OKC next year's championship. Could very well happen. They're favorites at plus 240. But it's tough. I do know this. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are 2 key pieces that I would rather have on my team than not. And as I said, Tatum's going to miss a significant portion next year, and you're going to move Brown. I'm not buying it, but we'll find out from Julian Edlow what's real and what's not. We'll also give the betting perspective from tonight's game, or tonight's draft, as far as money and odds moving, numbers all over the place, and if there's any possible value for us to fire the day of the draft. Normally the numbers are so locked in at this point in time, juiced up, that really, if you need to make some money and you're looking to make money on the NBA draft, 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago would have been the time. But information pays, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. Julian is normally pretty good on top of all of that, and he does a great job covering all things for a DraftKings Sportsbook. He'll join us coming up here in just about 5 minutes. Again, we got a lot to get to, some good conversations, fun conversations, big-time conversations. One that I would like to get into, just a real quick jab last night, as I don't know if you saw this, but a fan in the White Sox Arizona Diamondbacks made a comment from the field, and Ketel Marte literally started crying on the field. And you would just wonder, what the hell could somebody have said? And immediately you think racial, right? It wasn't the case. This fan who has now been banned from White Sox games, and if I'm not mistaken, banned from all MLB parks, which is a good thing. I say we make him famous. Put him on the camera. Let's see who it was. Let's hear. We got 1,000,001 podcasts out there. Get this guy on a podcast. Love to hear it. And then let's set up Marte for an opportunity to go one-on-one with this spectator, this idiot. Anyways, he made a comment about Marte's mother, who passed away, I believe, to a car accident a few years ago in the Dominican Republic. Dude literally had to stop the game and be consoled. It was sad. It was very sad. They want to update the story. As I said, dude's banned from all parks, which is a good thing. But man, that was crazy. And I know there's some dumb going back in my day out there. But I'll tell you what, to be able to hear something like that, man, that's just crazy to me. But we can't be having that. Be better people out there. Come on, man. Crazy story out of Chicago with the White Sox. We do have a day game action. As a matter of fact, they are in action. Oh, by the way, and credit to the White Sox who put up a billboard out in center field saying that baseball is family. We stand with Tel Marte. I thought that was a very nice job by the Chicago White Sox. Give them a tip of the cap on that one, and currently lead 4-2 in that game against the Diamondbacks. Like I said, a bunch of odds and ends we're going to get to, but all eyes on tonight's NBA draft. Julian Edlow will join me on the other side from DraftKings Sportsbook. Jaylen Brown potentially on the move. What type of percentage is he even given that? Has he given it any thought? And does it make the least bit of sense to Julian Edlow from Boston? He'll join me on the other side. It's the Daily Ticket. More after this.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas September 19th and 20th, streaming live only on Hulu. Starring John Fogerty, Bryan Adams, Sammy Hagar, Mariah Carey, Tim McGraw, Jelly Roll, Ed Sheeran, and more. 15 artists, 2 nights, 1 stage. Superstar performances, never before seen collaborations, and once-in-a-lifetime artist moments you'll have to see to believe. Get your iHeartRadio Music Festival tickets now at AXS.com.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
Virginia up 95 northbound Allegheny up to Bridge, southbound back to Bridge at the Betsy Ross, Schuylkill westbound Heavy University Divine and Jam Boulevard to Belmont, eastbound slow Blue Route to Belmont, Jam Montgomery Drive to South, Lara Tutela total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find the latest summer styles all for under $25. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. So don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com.
Are you like millions of Americans who avoided filing their taxes this year because you're afraid you will owe the IRS thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars? Well, you don't need to be afraid anymore. Tax Relief Advocates has the solution. We can file your back tax years and may be able to reduce or even eliminate what you owe. With over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, we've helped over 100,000 Americans just like you permanently and painlessly resolve their IRS debt. A resolution specialist is waiting to speak to you now, who will let you know what tax debt reduction you may qualify for. Don't wait. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call our tax relief hotline now to see what you qualify for at 800-511-2503. 800-511-2503. Again, that's 800-511-2503. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The riveting podcast, What Happened to Talina Czar, unravels the chilling mystery surrounding a woman's disappearance during the COVID-19 lockdown, the internet sleuths who wouldn't let it go, and the dark subcultures and betrayals they unearthed.
There were a lot of secrets that were very hard to find.
Listen to What Happened to Talina Czar on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow What Happened to Talina Czar and start listening on the free iHeartRadio app today.
You see what I see, love?
Our grandson splashing his mom with a cannonball?
You. Having heart failure is hard enough, but now you're having trouble opening the sunscreen. Carpal tunnel acting up again?
Yep, and there are my stomach issues. and how tired I am. I could use a nap.
Let's take a dip, and then we're calling your cardiologist to see what's going on, okay?
If you have heart failure and something's off, it may be ATTR-CM or transthyretin cardiac amyloidosis. It's a serious heart condition that gets worse over time. Vindamax, tafamidis, is a prescription pill taken once a day to treat adults with ATTR-CM to reduce death and hospitalization for heart problems. Tell your doctor about all your medications, medical conditions, and if you have liver problems or breastfeeding, pregnant, or plan to be. There are no known side effects with Vindamax. For prescribing information, call 1-877-278-9632. Learn more at Vindamax.com.
Seeing what I see? Ask your doctor about ATTR-CM.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
For a lot of us, saving up a down payment can be the biggest barrier to buying a home. So Rocket Mortgage is lowering down payments to 1% for eligible home buyers with ONE+. Because everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to get a head start on your starter home.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Stuck in the same day-to-day routine? Wake up, go to work, eat, sleep, repeat. Break through the boredom this summer and download Call of Duty Mobile for free. Enjoy fan-favorite maps, modes, and operators from classic Call of Duty titles, plus new mobile-exclusive content. Today doesn't have to suck. Cure your boredom for free with Call of Duty almost anywhere, anytime. Call of Duty Mobile is available on both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store for free today. Rated M for mature.
Hey, man, you all right? Need me to call 911? No, call Top Dog Law. Get top dollar for your accident at topdoglaw.com. Once again, that's topdoglaw.com.
Here's Sean Brace on the Daily Ticket. Daily Ticket on Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler.
Let's go.
Yeah, we got ourselves an NBA draft. It's fun when you actually can talk about it because it's a top 5 pick, top 3 pick. You know, when you get around the 16 to 20 mark, it's fun for all our draft aficionados, diehards out there. But we're involving everybody now with the overall 3 pick and how the 76ers can screw it up tonight. I want to bring this up, though, because Julian Edlow is joining us right now from DraftKings Sportsbook, and he knows a thing or two about a thing or two when it comes to the Boston Celtics. And Julian, right now, people on the timeline here in Philly are wondering whether or not Jaylen Brown will be available to potentially be a draft trade target. Julian Edlow would know. Give us a percentage that Jaylen Brown is on the move from the Boston Celtics, and why is it that even in a timeline right now?
2%.
Okay, good. That's where I'm at as well.
So you said Jaylen Brown is, what did you say, on the block or on the move? Like, I don't think that's correct. I think that the NBA saw the Celtics trade Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis within 24 hours, which was expected, which they needed to do to get under the second apron. It saves them $180 million in tax next year. That team was at a crossroads where if they won and they were back-to-back champions, the new owners, you got to kind of suck it up and let them go back out there and try and win again. But instead they were embarrassed in the second round. So it's kind of the perfect excuse in some ways to say, all right, let's save some money. And then you mix the Tatum Achilles in and, it's probably going to be a down year and you have to make those moves. Now, those 2 trades accomplish that. You're under the tax, you save $180 million. So I think the Celtics have accomplished what they want. Are they going to repackage Anthony Simons? Are they going to deal a Sam Hauser? Are they going to not re-sign an Al Horford? Those are all things that could potentially happen. But I think the rest of the league has taken this and said, now we should call on Jaylen Brown or Derek White. And I wouldn't consider that shopping. I would consider that Brad Stevens picking up the phone calls. Utah's rumored to be trying with their young bigs in the 5th pick. San Antonio has plenty with 2 lottery picks, including 2 overall. Your Stephon Castle. San Antonio's got the best package for sure. But I say there's a 98% chance that Jaylen Brown remains a Celtic because this is a get below the tax and prepare for this year without Tatum, not a rebuild. I think you're going to see White, Pritchard, Tatum, and Brown on the floor for the Celtics on opening night of 2026, with new pieces surrounding them from what we saw from the last champion.
As the way it should be, right? If there's somebody that's earned, like you said, picking up the phone and answering it, no doubt. I'm all about that. I understand it. If there's a franchise out there that has earned the moniker, the trust the process, as we said here for years, it is the Boston Celtics. However, I put myself in your shoes as a Celtics fan, and I go, wait a minute. If Tatum's going to miss the majority of next year, and you're going to move Brown, I almost would riot. Would you have that same reaction? Would you be that upset? Again, it all comes back to what do you get in return? But let's just say, putting that to the side, Jaylen Brown gets moved. What is, like, you would be blown away, right? You would almost want to riot, or am I off?
Yeah, I would say the large majority of Celtics fans want to keep Jaylen Brown. I've had some reach out to me and say, I'm looking at these Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey highlights, and, like, you know, if you can get number 2 and 14 and Castle and this and that, or you can get Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen and number 5 and future firsts. Like, okay, the Celtics do need Utah. Everybody says the Spurs have the better package. If you told me I had to trade Jaylen Brown, I would look at Utah, because the Celtics so desperately need size. If you're telling me I get Markkanen and Kessler with 5, where I can try and replace Brown with a Trey Johnson or an Ace Bailey or whatever, and some future first, that's the package I actually prefer. But again, some people want to try that, but I don't. Let's say Tatum's out all of next year. I don't think that means that you have to rebuild. You're still going to be a playoff team with Brown, White, Pritchard, Simons, whatever bigs you can kind of find, and they will find something. I don't think a down year is cause to blow the whole thing up and rebuild. They can be contenders in 27, 28, 29.
Totally agree. And again, we're talking about a season last year before they got knocked out that everybody had them pegged playing in the NBA Finals. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait, like you said, Porzingis and Drew Holiday, understood, 70+ million now off the books, if not more.
I would argue, just in terms of what it saves the team, it's 180 million. But I would argue that the Celtics have not lost that much production as things stand. That's why I'm saying I don't know if they'll make that many more moves. So you swap Simons and Holiday. That's an offensive upgrade, defensive downgrade. Simons average like 20, plus the picks, whatever, second round picks, yippee. But Simons is 20 a game. If he was on the Celtics last year, he would be behind only Tatum and White in 3-point attempts per game. He shoots 38, 39%. That's a fit for what the Celtics do. And then you swap Porzingis for Boston local legend Georges Niang. Huge talent downgrade, sure. But Niang's like a 10-4 guy. Your greatest ability is your availability, right? Porzingis doesn't play. If you get 80 games out of Niang versus 40 games out of Porzingis, what's more valuable? So, like, I would honestly argue they have not lost much production as things currently stand. The production that they've lost and why they can't contend next year is that temporary filling of the Tatum gap.
All right. Well, great Boston breakdown. Fun one that is being discussed on the timeline. Again, I didn't really give it much, but our own Sean Bernard did say 20%. He said 20%. Now, he said 80% is not going to happen, but 20 is high. Yeah. 20 is very high. Also, Sean will be doing a great job for the folks over at DraftKings. Be sure to catch his live blog for all things NBA draft at DK Network. Julian leading the charge over there as well, handling a ton. And of course, we'll be on the NBA draft front and joining us today. We appreciate you bumping up here, Julian, with everything that's going on today and tomorrow. With that being said, I want to ask you before we dive into some numbers and some maybe odd movement, something that's catching your eye for the folks in Jersey and the other states that you can wager on the NBA draft. What is your take with Ace Bailey? Without going into too much of the minutia, what's been said, look, I there's been 1,000,001 players that have had, the stuff put out there that we didn't hear them specifically say, and they could always grasp onto that. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And I do believe there's some truth to what we're hearing. Doesn't want to play in Philadelphia, wants to be in a better fit. Concerned with this second contract. And Julian, I'm not dumb. I get it, right? The second contract is where you get paid a ton of money. But like, really, that's where we're at right now. That's number one on his plate. It's not to get in the league. It's not to be a successful player. It's not to learn and contribute and help a team win. No, it's about my second contract. I am just so off on this dude. Don't have to say it from the 76ers perspective because they're not going to draft him. Hopefully not. He doesn't want to play here. Don't pick him. Although Daryl Morey would do something dumb like that. But with that being said, like if I'm another team out there, really? This is the dude I'm going to draft right now? What is the take on Ace Bailey? Is he doing anything right in your mind? And where does he end up tonight?
What he's doing right is his play on the floor because his tape is great, which is why he's the third most talented prospect and was initially linked to the Sixers at the third pick. Yeah, everything else I think just kind of rubs teams the wrong way, which hurts his stock. And we'll see what team ultimately, decides enough is enough. I don't think it'll be the Sixers at 3 because the Sixers are in a unique position. It just so happens so are the Mavericks this year and kind of almost the Spurs. The teams in the top 3 are not your usual top 3. But you got to take Flagg, you got to take Harper. And then at 3, I wouldn't say the Sixers have to take Ace Bailey because they're in what we think is going to be a win now situation where they try and right this ship with the talent that they have. And guys like we think it's going to be VJ Edgecombe, but even a Trey Johnson or a Con Knippel or whatever, can plug in and be a good piece with that team. Ace Bailey is not quite that. You want to Ace Bailey's, you're going for a home run. The other guys, you're hitting singles. Like Ace Bailey, you want to put in a place where you can develop him to try and reach his ceiling, which his ceiling, you could argue, is really second highest in the draft, like right behind Flags. He's got a super high ceiling. So he's ideal for a team that just doesn't have much and can let him kind of be the number 1 or the number 2 and try and become a superstar. Maybe like the Hornets, but the Hornets concern me at 4 because then you got so much with Ball and Brandon Miller and that might be a mess. I will say Danny Ainge doesn't often let the best prospect, the best player on the board slide by him. I can tell you that from his many years in Boston. He's at number 5 in Utah. But there's other guys you could argue, like Trey Johnson, if he's there at 5, you could argue he's more talented than Ace Bailey. It's a tough draft. It's an interesting draft. But Ace Bailey hasn't done himself any favors. I don't think he'll wind up in Philly. But he also didn't work out for Charlotte or Utah, and they might want to take him. So I don't know. We'll see if he cleans up his act a little bit or gets better advice once he's in the NBA.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Let me follow up on that because you did say you think he's the third best prospect in this draft. So from a 76ers fan perspective, should I be upset that he doesn't want to play here? How on the scale of man, that's terrible. This dude's going to be a bona fide superstar. He's going to be an all-star. Will we be looking back on this moment going, damn, what the hell happened? Is he that much of a lock, in your opinion, at the next level?
Well, he's not a lock, and that's why Philly's probably not going to take him. He's certainly the biggest gamble or the biggest risk because the upside is there. But now with his attitude or his style is going to Philly and playing behind guys and learning going to help him, like how Jason Tatum kind of wound up on a loaded Boston team and developed. Would that work for Ace Bailey or not? Because Ace Bailey is just as good of a prospect right now on draft day as Jason Tatum, pretty similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of prospect you're passing on if you pass on Ace Bailey. But I would definitely say he's carries a much more risk than Jason Tatum did. So again, it's all about what's behind it. What was behind Tatum was Josh Jackson at number 4 to the Suns. That worked out well. What's behind, and we don't know. That's why this is so hard. But what's behind or what's next to Ace Bailey? VJ Edgecombe seems, pretty similar, and a guy that would do the role play, like play a role for the Sixers and make, hustle plays, dirty plays to like get on the floor. So that's what you want. Trey Johnson, not that far behind Ace Bailey, really good scorer, really good shooter. So like, I think that's what hurts Ace Bailey, is that there's comparable prospects next to him that are much safer that you can just take and let them slide.
We got Julian Edlow from DraftKings Sportsbook joining us here, getting us all ready to go for tonight's NBA draft. I want to get to VJ Edgecombe in just a second, but one more Ace Bailey with Dylan Harper. And I'm curious to know your take, because we've gotten this question 100 different times, and I feel like everybody has their own answer. So you're a guy that knows a lot about college hoops. I do know this much. When Ben Simmons and LSU missed the tournament, that was a huge talking point. He was the number 1 overall pick, and nobody would let that go. Oh, if you're that good, your team should make the tournament. Well, they had 2 players in the top 3 picks potentially, and Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey and Rutgers didn't make the tournament. So what's your answer when someone would ask you, like, what happened last year at Rutgers? If these guys are as good as they should be, as they're being pushed right now in the NBA draft tonight, 2 and 3 potentially, how do you not make the tournament from Rutgers' perspective last year?
Yeah, you initially, as somebody that like evaluates prospects, you want to look at this and be like, well, it doesn't matter. Let's focus on the prospect and their game, and they're so young and da-da-da. But then you look at the history of it, and like, it usually doesn't work out well. And the examples are mostly with you bozos over in Philly. Ben Simmons,
yes,
bad college team. Oh, he makes an all-star team. He's kind of good. And then I don't know what the hell happened to him. Markelle Fultz.
Yep.
Washington team didn't make the tournament. Can't miss number 1 prospect. He forgets how to shoot when he gets in the NBA. Like, I don't see that. These are both pretty like clean prospects in terms of their play on the floor. I don't see their game really falling apart, Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper. But yes, there is something in the past to when these elite high-level prospects can't get a team into the NCAA tournament. And this time, again, 2 of them playing together, historically has not worked out well, although you want to just tell yourself to evaluate the prospect and not really factor that in.
All right, Julian, over to the 76ers again tonight, 3rd overall pick. And I had a guest yesterday, Mark Henry Jr., that brought it up and said they should not trade out of it. Daryl Morey needs to find a guy. This has been a 2-horse race locked. Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, they're going 1-2. So essentially, at that 3rd pick, you're going to get the pick of the litter. You're going to set the trend. He's never had a lottery pick. I know you've already said that you believe VJ Edgecombe is going to go there. I'm curious why you believe that. I'm sure it has something to do with the money. But on top of that, are you, if you were Daryl Morey, are you pulling the trigger on VJ Edgecombe above other prospects, potentially, Con Knipple and what his strengths are? I think he's going to fill in a nice spot for a potential roster in the NBA level with his 3-point shooting. Trey Johnson, we know what he's capable of. If you're Daryl Morey and you're going to pick 3rd overall, should you fall in love with a player here, specifically VJ Edgecombe?
I'd be very open to trading it just because you want to win now. But it all depends on the return. Again, I'm not open really to trading Jaylen Brown if I'm Boston, but if Utah calls with, Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen and the number 5 pick and 4 future firsts, like, okay, you're thinking about it. So like, it depends what the return is. Is it moving back to 8 in this draft and a future, or is it getting a player, like an NBA player that is on a roster right now? All that matters. But again, we can't make this up, so it's easier to just stick it and pick it. I'm using Edgecombe because the odds and the rumors and the mock drafts indicate Edgecombe, and I'm fine with him, and I'm fine with him as one of many guys. I would also be fine with Ace Bailey, but again, I don't think his attitude is going to fit. So I'll remove him from the group and say I think VJ Edgecombe would be willing to play as a role player, would play defense. He can knock down shots. Like, I think he would buy into playing alongside Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and like fit in kind of like he did at Baylor. Like, he joined a good Baylor team and he was their best player, which does make it different. But like, he joined, good talent that had been there and fit in well. I would say the same thing to a lesser extent, probably about a Trey Johnson. I think Trey Johnson would be a good pick at 3. He was really good at Texas. Needs the ball in his hands a little bit more and is more of a shooter. But again, spacing the floor and shooting isn't a bad thing if they can make that work. Same thing for Con Knippel. Like I'm fine with all those guys. I haven't done enough evaluation to tell you which of the 3 is definitely going to be the best NBA player. But if you do wind up with the odds-on favorite in VJ Edgecombe in Philly, I would be happy with that.
Trey Johnson plus 650 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, you can only wager on this in Jersey, not PA. Ace Bailey has the same number next to his name. VJ Edgecombe now at minus 600 for the number 3 pick. Again, that's not Sixer specific. That's just number 3. So keep that in mind as well. Con Knippel, interesting player. Again, played on a really good Duke team. 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. That's the first thing that goes through my mind. Great shooter, fine. But defensively, he's going to lack, right? Size, not there. I feel like when we were watching Duke games, we always talked about the 3 big players, lottery picks. He was always on the outside looking in from the lottery. Now, potentially 3rd, 4th, 5th overall pick. Is this an overreach in your mind? Do you think he's going to deliver at the next level? Where do you think he goes tonight?
Yeah, I'm a little lower on him, not too low. Like I just think he would be in the 6, 7, 8 range for me. Size wise, he is there. I'll give him that. He's 6'7". Ace Bailey is the only one that's taller than him. He's an inch taller than Trey Johnson.
Knippel?
Yeah, Con Knippel's 6'7".
Really?
Yeah. Fact check me on that.
All right, I am.
Quick. Trey Johnson 6'6", VJ Edgecombe 6'4", 6'5".
I got 6'5" right now on Yahoo. Just a quick search for Con Knippel.
Okay, so he's more in the
we know what his strengths are. He could fill it up from the outside.
ESPN's got him 6'7".
Really?
That's what I don't know. Whatever.
Let's say he's 6'6".
Look up his combine measurements because that's what matters. Because that's where Ace Bailey showed up. And again, here's to your authenticity. Like, be honest. Shows up saying he's 6'10", and then he's 6'7" and a half. My driver's license says I'm 6 feet.
Same.
No, it doesn't. I'm 5'8", unfortunately. Otherwise, my NBA draft prospects are long out the window. But yeah, like he's got the size and the shooting, which is why he's as high as he is, and teams like that. But there are his feel for the game. He's a good passer. I think he's a good prospect. I don't agree with the steam to like odds-on favorite to 4 to the Hornets. Minus 1,000 to go top 5. He moved to from minus 150 to minus 1,000 the other day. The thing is, that's now a one-way market. Like his draft prop opened 6.5, then it was 5.5, then it was pulled. Now you can only bet him top 5. So you can't bet Con Knippel not to be in the top 5 now. So you might as well just leave the price alone. I'm doing the bookmaking for you here. So now you can no one's betting him because it's a bad number, and nobody can bet. If you want to give me Con Knippel plus 750, not top 5 or over 5.5, I'll bet that in a minute. This is one of those times where we get caught up in the NBA draft steam, and it's like, wow, look at how heavily favored he is to go in the top 5. Well, that would, if we were given an option to bet it back the other way, that number would not be the way it is.
All right, yeah. I thought I could be able to pull that up. Today, after highly successful freshman, Duke University 6'6". We got all sorts of numbers here. 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". So he's in that ballpark. But 6'7" hits me a little bit more than 6'5". Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah.
Understood. But
I consider him a tier below Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson for wings.
All right. As far as money and odds coming in, you're a guy that reads the tea leaves. You pay attention to a lot of this information. A little too late to be wagering on this, obviously, with the day of the draft. But was there any significant movement that led you to make a play, or some whispers down the lane, or some news that you dug up maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that you went and fired on DK on a potential draft play tonight?
The two things that I've put out article wise, and I did personally, I bet VJ Edgecombe at minus 150 to be the 3rd pick last week. Hooray for me. Well, it doesn't matter unless it wins. Mm-hmm. All of them closed good. Like if I bet something, I'm banking on it getting good closing line value. That hasn't meant much in recent drafts. Last week, I put out the article on Malawach, big guy from Duke, under 8.5. I brought it up on here. That was minus 120. Now it went to like minus 2 something, minus 300, if it's even still on the board. The other one I put out this week is Noah Asenge. Is the big dude from France, 6'10". He's skipping his team's playoffs to come to the draft, which some say indicates he's going to go high. I don't know. I took him over 9.5. It was minus 135. Now that's up in the minus 2 something range as well. I don't see a spot for him in the top 9. If it is, it's the Raptors at 9. He's got his ceilings like a Pascal Siakam type of grade. Fits well with Raptors, obviously. But I don't see the spots. I think the top 8 guys we should know. And that's all the guys we've talked about in Malawach. So that's what I've bet. I think this isn't helpful for betting wise. This is the hardest NBA draft I've looked at betting wise in a while. And some of that is just that drafts are not getting easier to bet. It kind of peaked in the COVID times when we didn't have sports. Those were back in the days where, I had a document with 100 draft bets in it. Those days are long gone. I'm looking at like 3 or 4 now. But this is a hard draft. It's a lot tougher to figure out. I think because after the 2 that we know, you got those 3-4 wings that are all very grayed out, very similar, and we don't know how they're going to fall in. Who's going to take the point guard in Jeremiah Fears? Jeremiah Fears has been steamed to go number 5 overall to Utah. Utah has all guards 6'4" and under and all bigs. You're telling me Danny Ainge, who drafted Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, isn't going to take an Ace Bailey, Trey Johnson type of wing at 5? That doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot that doesn't make sense to me. And I guess the fun part of being the NBA fan, not a bettor, but an NBA fan watching tonight, is that we have no clue what's going to happen from 3 on.
None whatsoever. And I do believe, look, the finals just ended. I was yelling about this earlier today. As a matter of fact, yesterday. Look at all the trades we've had. Finals just ended on Sunday. Could potentially have some fireworks tonight. Look at the Knicks. They could be aggressive. Oklahoma City could potentially want to move up in the draft. I saw that there were some rumors about that. I think tonight
they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They got 15 and 24 and 2 more every year in the future, and no roster spot and not many roster spots to put them. They used a lottery pick last year on Nikola Topic because they didn't have a place to fit a player. And he has been stashed overseas with a partially torn ACL. He would have been like a 5 or 6 pick in the draft, but he tore his ACL. So OKC takes him at 12, stashes him. He's coming over.
Come on.
It keeps coming with OKC.
The rich get richer. All right. Well, Sam Presti's pretty good at what he does over there. One more from the draft. And Derek Queen, a kid from Maryland, obviously had a good run during the tournament. I believe combine, we were talking about the combine, didn't show up in the best shape at the combine. I think that was kind of against him. He's an interesting name because potentially around right now, DK has him at 11.5 at minus 110. Is there potential in your mind that he's a top 10 pick? Or do you think if you had to place a wager, you're going the other way with Derek Queen?
It's tough. I think the Raptors or the Suns at 9 or 10 are a really good fit. Suns really need a center. The only thing the Suns can't do is draft a shooting guard. But Queen would fit there. His prop opened 10.5, and I'll tell you the third most bet draft prop. This is any and all markets is Queen over 10.5, which is now turned into 11.5. So bettors are fading Queen. That's on handle, so that's on dollars. Bigger bets coming in on Queen over. I don't know if you want to follow or fade the money there, but that's how it's coming in. I'll also say this: as of yesterday, the most bet prop at DraftKings was Con Knippel top 5 pick, and I'm not sold that that's happening, but it is priced as if it's happening.
Well, it all goes down tonight. And of course, the NBA season, no rest for the wicked. It will be at Summer League in Vegas before you know it, and then tipping things off for teams in September. And of course, the season will be starting, and then the Sixers season will be over as soon as it starts. I kid. Julian Edlow, fantastic job as always. How did the NBA Finals go for you? Again, 7 games, somewhat a surprise. Let me ask you: if Halliburton stays healthy in that game, what happens? What's the outcome of Game 7 in your mind?
Most people are saying that it goes down to the wire. I think OKC still pulls away, maybe not by 20 and then 10 late in the fourth, but I think OKC covers. I'll say that.
Yeah, because they pulled away in that third. I think potentially that's how it was going to play out, but still sucks with Halliburton being hurt. Did you go into full commissioner mode like everybody else on the timeline, trying to change the schedule? We got to shorten playoffs. We got to play 50 games in the regular season. Did you go full commish mode like everybody else, or no?
If they want to go to 70 or 72 games, that's fine with me. I don't think it's a necessity. I don't think we should do as much load management. I think if you want to play fewer minutes on certain nights, go for it. But the bigger issue is how much guys play year round. Olympics, both Tatum and Halliburton were on the Olympic team.
It's a good call.
And it happens when guys are playing hurt. Like the Durant one was the first big one where he just kept trying to come back on that calf because of the stage, and it's game 4 or 5 of the NBA Finals, and that happened. And now it has happened several times since, all the guys playing hurt. So I don't know if there's an answer to, if the answer is just sitting out longer when you have these injuries, that's the easy one, or if there's something they can be doing with the rest of their time so that they can come back earlier. But it's clearly correlated to playing through leg injuries.
Yeah.
Whether it's the same leg or the opposite.
Yeah, not fun. And you brought up the Durant deal. That was exactly what was going through everybody's mind when we were watching it. And then, of course, on the timeline, everyone was saying the same thing. Just sucked across the board. Hey, quick one before you get out of here. The trivia question. I don't know if you read it on the bottom. I'm not going to ask you for all 5. Since 1999, 4 number 1 picks have come from Duke. Can you name them?
Elton Brand.
That is correct.
Zion Williamson.
That is correct.
Should have been Jason Tatum if the Sixers were smart. Who am I forgetting here? This is on the spot. You got to go through a lot of years.
Since 1999, Duke had 4 number 1 overall picks. There will be number 5 tonight. You said Zion.
Was 2.
You said Elton Brand.
Well, I'm killing the air here. You got to just tell him.
Oh, you're all right. Don't worry. It is Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then the other one. Orlando Magic.
Oh, Banchero. Yeah. All right. I wasn't thinking recent enough.
Yeah.
Gotta get more recent.
I struggled with Paulo Banchero as well. I'm like, are you kidding me? I didn't get him. Unbelievable. And also, Art Heyman, for those people that were diehard Duke fans back in 1963. So yeah,
okay. Would not have gotten him. Give me another minute. I got Kyrie and Banchero.
There you go. Julian, you're the best. I appreciate you bumping up here on a Wednesday. Looking forward to the coverage, of course, doing a bang-up job. Be sure to catch everything over at dknetwork.com. Give Julian a follow on socials. Thank you very much, sir. Good luck on those plays. Hopefully those 3 wagers cash, and we'll catch up next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
My man, there he is, Julian Edlow on the Gambler stream, having some fun here. All right. Sam Oshtry is going to join me. We're going to dive deeper into the mind of Daryl Morey on the other side. I look forward to catching up with Sam here on NBA Draft Day. Of course, front and center, all things. I also want to talk to you about a movie that I saw last night that was awesome. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're shifting. We're shifting into overdrive. Caught F1. The thing I want to bring up, though, about this movie is when someone asks you to rate or review or rate or review a movie, should you, in your evaluation, include how it sounded in theaters, how it made you feel in theaters, or should you put that to the side and it's what the movie is, the script, the acting, so on and so forth, right? The visuals. When you have to rate or review a movie, does the movie theater experience need to be involved? Like 2 thumbs up, Siskel and Ebert. Were they reviewing it because of the IMAX? The way it sounded? Like, I'm going to give you my opinion on what F1 was last night, but I got 2 ratings for you. I'll break it down a little bit more. It was a damn good movie. Well worth your time. I promise you that. But Sam Oshtry's going to join. We're going to talk NBA draft, plus Phillies and Houston round 2. A lot to do. Don't go anywhere more after this. Summertime is here, and who needs a cool grand in their hand? Fox Sports The Gambler has you covered. Listen weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and at the top of every hour for your shot to win $1,000. Once you hear the keyword for that hour, get on over to foxphlgambler.com and enter to win a grand in your hand. Once again, that's 9 times a day for your chance to win $1,000. Nobody does it like Fox Sports The Gambler in Philly.
Do you own or manage a business here in Philadelphia? Are you unsure where to start when it comes to advertising? Well, here's a surprise. Fox Sports The Gambler, your local iHeart station, is the one place you can get it all. Hey, it's Sean Brace, and we can help with everything from radio and podcast ads to social media and digital. And we can even get local voices like mine spreading the word about your business. So if you're looking for someone to take care of it all, do yourself a favor right now. Call 844-844-iHeart or visit iHeartAdvertising.com today.
Man, I hate this course, Moose. I always lose so many golf balls.
You're still buying those overpriced balls, Harry?
What other choice do I have? Premium balls aren't cheap.
They are if you get them from buymyballs.com. I told you, that's balls with a Z. Same top brands, way less cash.
Wait, so you're playing premium golf balls and don't care if you lose them?
Nope. I just reload and keep swinging it and dinging it.
All right. First thing after this round, I'm hitting buymyballs.com. Stop overpaying for premium golf balls. Get yours at buymyballs.com. That's balls with a Z.
What? All the budget has to be used now? And we can use all the media buy?
Javier's marketing firm just got its dream funding.
Okay, ideas. Bobbleheads. No. T-shirt candy. I seriously need some help here.
He needs to find marketing managers who are worth every dollar.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsoring a job on Indeed gives it a visibility boost so you can hire faster. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find the latest summer styles all for under $25. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. So don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com.
Hey, this is Lincoln Kennedy. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by Mercedes-Benz.
The lives of 30 young men will be changed tonight during the first round of the NBA draft. The Sixers, they've got the 3rd overall pick. St. Joseph's forward Rasheer Fleming and Villanova's Eric Dixon, they're among the top prospects tonight, with Fleming expected to go in the first round. And to baseball, where the Phillies continue their series in Houston tonight. They'll look to rebound from a loss in the series opener, and they'll have Zach Wheeler on the mound there. I'm Scott Davidson.
The Mercedes-Benz Dream Days are back with offers on vehicles like the 2025 E-Class, CLE Coupe, C-Class, and EQE Sedan. Hurry in now through July 31st. Visit your local authorized dealer or learn more at mbusa.com/dream.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.
Good afternoon. Wednesday drive home. We're busy on the Vine Expressway. Both ways, Schuylkill to Broad, westbound Schuylkill, Stop and Go University to Vine, Boulevard to Belmont, eastbound heavy Blue Route to Belmont, and Montgomery Drive to South. 95 northbound Jan Gerard up the bridge, southbound Stop and Go Cotman to the Betsy Ross, and further south heavy Ridley Park to 320. Blue Route northbound, so 95 past McDaden, southbound Lace, Broomall to Media Swarthmore, 42 South Jam Wall, Whipping Creek Road, Lyra to Tella, total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
Stay tuned to Fox PHL The Gambler for the latest CEOs you should know.
Michael Delbane, the president and CEO of Welcome America.
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Today doesn't have to suck. Break through your day-to-day boredom by downloading Call of Duty Mobile for free and enjoy fun gameplay featuring fan-favorite Call of Duty maps, modes, and operators, plus tons of new mobile content anywhere, anytime. Available on both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download for free now. Rated M.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hey, y'all, this is Jason Aldean. You know I'm all about supporting what matters to us, our families, our freedoms, and our country. That's why I made the switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. With Patriot Mobile, you're getting top quality service on the same great networks. And every bill helps support our veterans and defend our freedoms. It's time to put your dollars where it counts. Join me in switching to Patriot Mobile today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Aldean or call 972-PATRIOT today.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your nature-made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
With great deals coming this Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th, greatness is a deal away. So if you love baking, you can get a deal on a new mixer, transforming you into the Lord of the Loaves.
Hear ye, make way for the baddin of brioche, the sultan of sourdough, the lord of the loaves, prime member Dave!
Yeah, hi?
Shop great deals this Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
Number 1 on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. WDAS and WD273D Philadelphia is Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Green. That's green. Enter it now.
FoxPHLGambler.com. Once again, FoxPHLGambler.com right now. NBA draft front and center for us here on The Gambler. We're all over it. We got some of the best brains out there covering the association, the college game, everything that matters when it comes to the NBA draft. Tonight, what will the 76ers do? Well, our next guest, Sam Oshtry, I'm going to put him inside the mind of Daryl Morey, see if we can nail that down here, and maybe life is a little bit easier as I see everybody just saying VJ Edgecombe is the guy. That's it. So this seems like a sure bet, Sam Oshtry. Just go ahead and take out a second mortgage and run over to a window wherever you can place that wager in Jersey. And I know it's juiced up at -600, but VJ Edgecombe is a lock. He'll be a 76er tonight. That easy, huh?
I don't know if it's that easy. A couple days ago, I would have told you for sure that it's VJ Edgecombe. And gun to head, I'm still saying VJ Edgecombe right now. But I woke up this morning kind of having a feeling that this pick could be traded. And the more I think about it, I think there could be a trade. And I'm sure Morey is working the phones all afternoon up until that team, the Sixers, are going to be on the clock. And there could be a scenario where they trade back, to 7, maybe the Pelicans. Maybe the Pelicans really like Ace Bailey and they want to take a swing on Ace Bailey. And so they move up to 3 to get Ace Bailey. And the Sixers move back to 7 where the Pelicans are, and they could still get a guy like Konkanippel or Kaman Maluach, 2 players who they might like too. So I think that it's still a possibility. Assuming they do keep the pick and are picking at 3, I would say 85% sure that it would be VJ Edgecombe, but there's still a little 15% in there that would go Trey Johnson. I think Ace Bailey's out of the picture for the Sixers. That would be an absolute shock to everybody at this point, but I still think there's a slight chance of Trey Johnson getting some action too.
Interesting. All right. Well, look.
There's a lot of options on the table.
Well, he has the option. He is the pick of the third overall pick is the pick of the draft. Like we know Flag's going 1, Dylan Harper's going 2.
The entire night, the entire rest of the night will be dictated by what happens at 3.
Man, the way you just made it sound though, with moving back, and I know it's definitely a possibility. We know how Daryl Morey operates, but and you heard me ranting and raving about it yesterday. I'd be frustrated. Like, man, go in there and get a guy at 3. We had a disaster of a season, but at the end of the draft, 2 days in total, and like, how can I argue with Daryl Morey if he says, "Hey, look, At 3, I thought VJ was great, but we bounced back. We got this asset, these picks of future picks, and we got this guy, which we had high on our board, right? It always comes back to the board. Well, I had this guy higher on my board, so I ended up with them. So all in all, I guess if that's how it does play out, I can't be that upset at trading the pick at number 3, which is not what I was saying yesterday, Sam. You made a lot of sense there.
You're seeing a lot more teams invest in the East next year invest in their team next year because the East is so weak. And I think that's what you're seeing a ton of, like when you see the Magic go all in for Desmond Bane, when you see a team like the Hawks yesterday make a win now move in getting Kristaps Porzingis. You're seeing teams want to go all in because of how weak the East is right now. I think that has to be Daryl Morey's mindset. And look, the Sixers' entire season hinges more on Joel Embiid's health than any other move they make tonight. Like that's what's going to determine whether the Sixers have a successful season or not, and whether they can make a deep playoff run in a wide open East. That's what matters. But still, you want to see them take, and I think from Daryl Morey's perspective, he wants to take a win now approach, which is why either trade back to get you a win-now player like Kaman Malawach, who could impact the team immediately, while also maybe getting an asset from the Pelicans who could help you. I don't think it's going to be Herb Jones, which a lot of people have floated. I think that's way too high of an asking price that the Pelicans wouldn't want to depart with. But that's what people have floated. But any asset you can get to move back in the draft, where you can also get a win-now player, or if they keep the pick, you're targeting a win-now guy like VJ Edgecombe, who you think can immediately be part of the Sixers rotation because of his defense, because of his athleticism, because how he can play in a spot-up role while Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid operate in the pick and roll. So I think that it's all about a win-now mindset, and that's why you see Ace Bailey, the questions with him, his maturity, the questions with his shot selection, his inefficiencies, all that stuff. You want the Sixers to go away from him because they need to take a win-now mindset.
Is there a chance that Daryl Morey gets aggressive? Is there a chance that there is a general manager out there that wants to dance with Daryl Morey and Paul George gets dealt tonight?
I think it's highly unlikely, but there's always a chance. Daryl Morey's lying to everybody when he says he's 100% keeping Paul George. If he gets an offer and he's going to float Paul George throughout the offseason, I'm sure he already has, they will move on that offer. It would have, they're not actively looking to trade Paul George, is what I would say. But if you come around with an offer that they can't refuse, to get off that contract and get off how old the guy looked last year, and he really looked aging and injured, that it's possible. Like, I don't think it's likely, but it's definitely possible.
He's 35, so he is old, right? And he's definitely is aged. And he's out there doing podcasts still. It's the off season.
He was trashing Ace Bailey on his podcast. Did you see that?
I thought he was Mr. Ace Bailey. I thought he was all Ace Bailey'd up.
No, he was saying how Ace Bailey has completely mishandled the situation. And he said he has to expect that Ace Bailey will fall in this draft because of how he's handled the situation.
Good. Well, that's what he's saying now. But I know the last couple episodes, a few months ago, he was heavy on Ace Bailey.
Well, I think he likes his game. I just don't think how he's handled the process.
Oh, I'm in right there. Right. I'm in his corner. Now I'm back on Paul George's camp. All right. I got a comment about him.
You think he's a better podcaster than a basketball player, apparently.
He actually is, right? At this stage of his career. I have a comment that I'm not going to play right now, but he compares SGA's season to MJ in 98. So I'm sure that will get some
98.
play.
That was MJ's last ring. Why would he compare him to MJ's last ring? If anything, it should be MJ's first ring.
Ooh, I like that. Do you want to hear what he said?
Yeah, let's hear it. I do want to hear it.
Right. This is from the Paul George. Do you know the name of the podcast?
Yeah, the Podcast Peace Show, I think, right? Right? Isn't that what it is?
I didn't know. All right. This is Paul George from the 76ers on SGA's season.
It's 1A, 1B. I think you can put them in from a season standpoint. You got to put them in that conversation. That's a hell of a year, especially in the league today. It's tough as a smaller guard, especially the analytics. They despise the way SG plays more now than they did in any other year because you want threes and layups. Well, he gets to the free throw line, which is great, but he doesn't shoot threes, but should put a ton more emphasis on the players that can operate in the mid-range game because you see it's important.
So Michael Jordan in 1998, then 35 years old. Like you said, why are we talking about it from that angle? Sixth NBA championship in 8 years, defeated Jazz. He averaged 28.7, 5 rebounds, 3 assists during the regular season. 6th finals MVP. Did he win the MVP that year as well? Because I know Karl Malone ended up winning it a year. Maybe that's why, because he won the MVP regular, MVP for
yeah.
finals. Yeah, exactly.
The irony of that is Paul George became a Clipper and SGA became a Thunder because they were traded for each other. Paul George was on the Thunder and they traded him to the Clippers to pair him with Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers had to give up SGA. And so obviously in hindsight, the clear winners of that trade are the Thunder based on how that Clippers fiasco went. Even though if you're the Clippers at the time, you're making that trade 100 times out of 100. No one could have predicted SGA's levels of success or the Clippers' demise and how much failures and injuries they would deal with. But it's just ironic that Paul George is now talking about SGA in this light, where it's like, because you were gone, the Thunder actually became champions in your wake.
Of course, he was also traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder by the Pacers, and the Pacers received Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. I don't know if anything else came their way, but yeah, that's why I'm like really fired up for the Sixers to make the move, because if you trade Paul George, you get to an NBA Finals.
Automatic future success.
Yeah, great success there. All right, Sam Oshtry from The Score, having some fun here. Of course, NBA draft inside the mind of Daryl Morey. Give me your thoughts on potentially Jared McCain being traded tonight. Is there a percentage? Is there something that you're comfortable throwing a percentage at us that Jared McCain is involved in some? It could potentially be a blockbuster deal. You never know. But Jared McCain potentially in a deal tonight. Your thoughts?
I think close to zero, if not zero. Jared McCain will certainly be a Sixer after this draft. The only possible scenario where you would maybe move him is if you were going to move up in the draft to 2, and you could get rid of Jared McCain and potentially get the 2 pick, which would be Dylan Harper, of course. You could debate if that's a good move or a bad move. That's the only scenario I could even see Jared McCain being on the move, but that's not happening. The Spurs are keeping that pick. The Spurs love Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper will be a San Antonio Spur. So that move and that deal is off the table at this point. So I don't really see any scenario. I think there's going to be an active night on the trade market, Sixers included, a lot of teams included. I don't see any scenario where Jared McCain is part of any big deals.
Do the Knicks do anything tonight?
They need a coach. Maybe they get a coach tonight.
Hey, Windhorse went all.
About what?
On PTI, I want to say yesterday. Yes, it was. I caught it late night, and he said, "Look, that's on purpose. Like the Knicks need a coach, sure, but it's on purpose. Like they're dragging their feet. There's no reason to rush right now."
Well, I think part of it is they really want Jason Kidd still. Like Jason Kidd is their guy still. Jason Kidd still hasn't got a contract extension from the Mavs when all these other teams have got contract extension. All these other coaches have got contract extensions from their teams after the Knicks requested them, like Billy Donovan and a couple others. The Mavs still haven't given him a contract extension, number one. His top assistant, I forget his name, something Shamgod, just left.
Yep,
he just left. And now I believe Jared Dudley is about to leave as well, because they're not giving any of those guys contract extensions. And that's Jason Kidd's pretty much his top 2 assistants, and that's a big part of his staff. So is Jason Kidd going to replenish his staff, or he's going to move on to New York? It's still circling. That is not over. That Jason Kidd and Knicks saga is not over. Maybe the Knicks want to get in the first round. I don't really see that happening. I can't really see the Knicks being too active tonight.
All right. As far as the 76ers, again, just taking us inside the mind of Daryl Morey. Anything there with the big man for you? You know, teams are calling Joel Embiid, buy low, sell high, whatever you want to say. Of course, hasn't played a ton the last 2 seasons. Maybe Daryl Morey sees, light at the end of the tunnel by removing Joel Embiid. I just think everything is on the table after what just took place last year. Again, I'm not saying that I would. I wouldn't have traded Joel Embiid 2 years ago, but right now it's like, dude, are we really going to hook ourselves to another season where he gets hurt? And it's going to happen. He's going to miss time. He's just a big man. I love JoJo, but I would not be against moving Joel Embiid. I don't think it happens. I think it's a 0.0000% chance he does. Your thoughts, though? Does Joel Embiid have any shot of being moved tonight?
It must almost be July if we're doing the trade Joel Embiid thing at this point.
What do you mean? It's NBA draft tonight.
The Joel Embiid is not going anywhere. Nowhere. His value, number one, his value as a trade piece is very low. It's as low as it's been pretty much in the last 6-7 years since he took the league by storm when he debuted. So yeah, I don't see any scenario where Joel Embiid is on the move. His value is really low after obviously this past season was a disaster. The season before he got hurt, missed most of the regular season, and didn't look healthy in the playoffs against the Knicks in the first round. No one wants Joel Embiid right now. He's damaged goods at this point. But also the reason why the Sixers and Daryl Morey got into Daryl Morey's mind, Daryl Morey has to be thinking right now, just anything you got to do to pray to the gods. I don't know if he believes in God, but anything you got to do to pray to the gods to one season of being healthy, because the East is wide open. If you're ever going to take a chance with Joel Embiid and this Sixers team and just hope for health, it's next season, because the East is wide open. No Celtics in the picture with Jason Tatum's injury missing most of the year. Traded Drew Holiday, traded Chris Stapps. No Pacers in the picture without Tyrese Halliburton. You have a prime opportunity. The Bucks are going to be without Damian Lillard. They still have the best player in the conference in Giannis for now, but there's no Damian Lillard in the picture. That's the Cavs, the Knicks. You could say the Magic are in there. I like the Hawks, but the Sixers are right there with any of those teams if they can stay healthy. So now is the time to take a chance for one more season and run it back. So if you're ever going to trade Joel Embiid, it's not now.
Define health for me next year for the 76ers. When you say that, what is it? What does health mean in your mind? And I want an Eastern Conference Finals trip out of this. So define that health, please.
Health is Joel Embiid playing around 60 games, like around 60 games, enough where he can gain chemistry with his team, be on the court with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and whoever they draft tonight, and Jeremy McCain, all these guys for stretches. So enough where he can legitimately get reps, like real regular season reps in big games, big moments. So around 60 games, no major injuries towards the end of the season where he can enter the postseason healthy and his body good. And maybe he's not 100% conditioned by the end of the year, but if he's healthy, like in that Knicks series when he came back, he had no bounce. Like the Knicks were attacking him at the rim time and time again because the rim protector that Joel Embiid and he's been an underrated rim protector his entire career. He's good at protecting the rim and as a shot blocker. He didn't have that jump and he wasn't that rim protector. The Knicks were attacking him at the rim because of his health. So he needs to enter the postseason healthy, but he also needs to gain a lot of reps and time on the court with his other co-stars. So that's what health means for me. The conditioning stuff is another thing because you obviously want to see him condition, but entering the postseason healthy is priority number one.
21-22, he played 68. 22-23, he played 66. And of course, we know it took place 23-24, only played 39 games. 76ers last year, only 19 games total. So, I would even say, like, it doesn't even matter about Paul George. Like, it's next year, it's about Joel Embiid again, and that's it.
I'm with you because, number one, you're getting in a draft pick who you hope can contribute immediately. You saw what Jared McCain is capable of last year, so he's going to have a bigger role in the offense. Quentin Grimes showed you flashes. Granted, it was when the team was awful and he was getting a lot more on-ball reps than he ever would in any other winning setting. But still, Quentin Grimes showed you that he can be a real player. This season doesn't rely and it doesn't hinge on the player Paul George is. Yes, you need him to be a contributor, but you don't need Paul George to be an all-NBA player for the Sixers to be really good. Obviously, that's more about Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid being healthy and getting the contributing parts and offensive help, because it's not just about Paul George.
Right there with you. Sam Oshtry from The Score, of course, did a bang-up job covering all things NBA draft for us. Jack Forrest and Sam did a great job, a couple episodes in, all podcasted at foxphlgambler.com called On the Clock. So be sure to check that out. I know they're going to be doing a recap here. We'll find out what the Sixers do tonight. Again, we'll come back to the NBA drafts. I got you for a little bit, but I want to go into some of the trades that have taken place. And of course, coming off of the heels of what Shams said a couple weeks ago, who knows a thing or two about a thing or two when it comes to the league. So I didn't think he was just throwing it out there for the sake of like, yeah, let's inflate my stock here. Everyone needs to, well, no, he is the guy. And he said he feels like we're going to see some fireworks. Well, it's only 3 days in to the offseason. We're seeing exactly that. Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday both traded from the Boston Celtics. Had Julian Edlow on, and he said that they accomplished everything they needed to accomplish, and he thinks that that's probably going to be it from the Celtics perspective. A, do you agree with that? And B, Porzingis, that was a pretty darn good move by the Celtics to say, you know what, we got what we could. We won a championship. Time to cut bait.
Yeah, that's the thing about what the Celtics were trying to accomplish. It was simply a money thing. Like they had to get into the second apron because there's now serious consequence. It's not just, oh, like if you've got in the luxury tax, your owner can just pay a lot of money. There's now serious consequences for overpaying on a roster. And that includes the people you can sign, the type of trades you can make. You can lose draft picks if you're a repeat offender going on the second apron. And that's what the Celtics, even with or without the Tatum injury, the Celtics were going to have to make major moves to cut their salary because they offered a ton of guys a ton of money coming off that championship. So everyone kind of knew that it was going to be Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Those were going to be the two guys that moved, and they moved them pretty seamlessly. I thought they got decent return for them, decent value for them. And Anthony Simons on an expiring deal, so you can see what he does. And if not, if you don't want to re-sign him, and if he demands too much money after next season, you can cut bait with him. In terms of getting off those contracts, that was huge. And another thing is Al Horford's a free agent. So now you have to kind of see, are you going to prioritize Al Horford in free agency? But you're taking a gap year next year anyway. Like the Celtics think they can contend, and they probably will compete in the East. I wouldn't use the word contend, but I would say compete in the East. But it's essentially a gap year. They know it. Everybody knows it. Even if they don't admit it, they're not going to ever, no players or coach on that team are going to say, oh yeah, we're just taking a year off. But it's a gap year for them. It's an opportunity for Jaylen Brown and Derek White and those guys to be more featured in the offense. And then Jason Tatum, you hope, can return 100% healthy for that 26-27 season. And that's when you can kind of replenish and reload. So the Celtics accomplished everything they needed to, and they did it pretty seamlessly.
Al Horford, 39 years old. He's still in the league, man. And he's playing at a high level too, right?
Really
he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, he has because the Hall of Fame is crazy because it combines everything. It's a basketball Hall of Fame. You combine the college,
yeah, you're right,
and then of course what he's done at the NBA Hall of Fame.
So he's definitely a basketball Hall of Famer. It's also a really low bar to get in basketball Hall of Fame. It's not like other sports.
Not letting us in. Well, it's not that low.
I mean, yes, you have to have played in the NBA, that's for sure. But that's about the only requirement.
That's it. All right. Sam Oshtry. All right. Back over to the draft here. And you could involve the teams as far as potentially fireworks are concerned. Anything that has your spidey sense tingling that you think, you know what, team could want to get into the top 10. Is there a player that's being slept on that some folks are out there going, you know what, this is the guy? Give us another storyline that really has your attention, potentially for a trade or anything along those lines for tonight's NBA draft.
It really is all about Ace Bailey, and it's not just Ace Bailey, but it's all the dominoes are going to fall based on what happens with Ace Bailey. And that includes if Ace Bailey's skipped by the Sixers and Sixers keep that pick, how far is he going to fall? Excuse me. Could Con Knippel go to 4, which I think is very possible to the Hornets? That's where I have him mocked at. Could Trey Johnson or Jeremiah Fears go to 5, and one of those two leap Ace Bailey? And then Ace Bailey might fall to the Wizards at 6, which would be a huge fall, considering that he was a lock to be a top 5 pick when the lottery came out and after the college basketball season. And then you're looking at it from the perspective of what are the Wizards going to do at 6. But if Ace Bailey's not on the board, let's say he's taken earlier, someone trades up to 3, maybe the Jazz or Hornets, even though he said he doesn't want to play for either of those teams, maybe one of those teams take a flyer on him at 4 or 5. Then would the Wizards potentially take a Derek Queen to pair with Alex Sarr? Derek Queen is being vastly slept on. I mean, the mock draft that I saw today on ESPN had him going 15 to the Thunder. If the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best organization in basketball, Sam Presti and his staff are the best talent evaluators in basketball. If they land Derek Queen, the rest of the league are just a bunch of idiots. If they somehow let the Thunder, the best team in the league, land a guy who's going to be one of the best players in this draft. But I would watch for the Pelicans at 7 to land Derek Queen. And there's been a lot of movement today. That started at like 850 and then went down to 650. And then it lowered all the way to plus 250 for the Derek Queen to go 7 overall. Now, if you want to check it, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's around plus 400. So Derek Queen's been all over the place. The Pelicans vice president is Troy Weaver. Troy Weaver is former GM of the Pistons, but just last year, he was in the Wizards front office. Troy Weaver went to a ton of Maryland basketball games, a ton of Maryland basketball practices. He is incredibly familiar with Derek Queen just based off the fact that he was down the street and constantly scouting him throughout the year. I would not be shocked if the Pelicans draft Derek Queen at number 7, assuming Ace Bailey's not on the board, and they'll probably between a center for them, either Kaman Malawach or Derek Queen. They are very familiar. Troy Weaver in that front office is very familiar with Derek Queen. I think there's a good chance he takes Queen over Malawach at 7.
I like that. I brought that up with Julian Edlow, and he said one of the number one plays as far as handle is concerned is Derek Queen over 10.5, which then bumped it to 11.5, and that's where it's at right now at minus 110, plus 110. I'm right there with you. I'm looking at the 7 spot at plus 275 right now for Derek Queen. I love the breakdown. Definitely, if you could wager on it, I would trust Sam on this one in Jersey. Go ahead and sprinkle a little bit on Derek Queen at plus 275 to the 7 overall pick. But I would say don't trap yourself. Take the under on 11.5. I like him to go as well, man. He shined. The combine, I get it. It's some negative stuff there, no doubt about it. But when you look at the tape and you see what he brought to the table last year in those big games, and again, I just feel like he'd be worth the play. Look, I'm not a diehard draft aficionado. When you get into that 9, 10, 11, there's some European players due from France I don't know a ton about, but Derek Queen is a kid that I would love to take a chance on and draft him for this upcoming run here for whatever team out there.
11, it's gotten all the way up to 11.5 because a lot of these mocks have him really low. Like I just said, ESPN has him 15. And that's because he didn't perform well at the combine, but also a lot of individual workouts he didn't perform well. And there was some questions about his conditioning, of course, defense, what he showed on film, and his shot. Apparently didn't shoot the ball well at a lot of workouts. But I don't think you pass on the talent. This is what I've been saying about him for so long now. When you have bigs who have guard-type skills, who can pass, who have good touch around the rim, can put the ball on the floor, good drivers, passing instincts and vision, and a good free throw shooters, all of that combined, even though he's not a good three-point shooter just yet, but he has the touch, you don't pass on bigs like that. When bigs have guard skills, you take them. So I don't really agree with all these evaluators placing him in the late lottery just because he struggled in some workouts and at the combine. So I think it could be the Pelicans, but if the Pelicans pass on him, there's a good chance another team will swoop him up before 11.5.
Yeah, I would definitely take a flyer on that if I can get a wager on Derek Queen, and it would be something that gets you involved in as far as the NBA draft is concerned. Also, do want to point out for the people that are planning on wagering, just remember, you can wager on like the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, number 3 pick, so on and so forth. But just remember, just because a team is locked in there doesn't mean that they're going to stay there. So for people out there maybe looking at the number 3 pick for the Sixers perspective, they could trade out, as Sam detailed, that he thinks it's a possibility. And just remember, if that is the case, then maybe it's not a lock. VJ Edgecombe ends up going there at 3. But also on the flip side of that, take a shot, roll the dice. This is not going to be a draft. No drafts are ever chalk. Tell me the draft that's chalk after the first, second, third pick. There's always some sort of mix. So take a shot, roll the dice, sprinkle a little bit on, maybe not a long shot, but somebody that's like plus 650, plus 750. Why not have some fun if you're planning on watching tonight's NBA draft?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I've done because I have a friend in Jersey right now. Luckily,
nice work.
I didn't have to drive across the bridge because no PA props in Philly, but or in PA, or no draft props in PA. But another one I'm looking at is Nick Clifford, who I think could go to the Thunder. He's such a Thunder prospect, a guy who can immediately contribute, but also a guy who you could stack away like the Thunder would with whoever they draft. And I think the Thunder might try to trade some of these picks that they have. They have 2 in the first round tonight, but I like Nick Clifford a lot as a prospect. I think he's one of the better wings in this class, and it's such a Thunder pick that I think they would scoop him up at 15. I believe that was around plus 500 when I got it. I don't know what it is now, but Nick Clifford, I really like to be the 15th pick, whether that's the Thunder or not. And that's kind of like a niche prop here. It's very just unique to me, but I like that one.
All right. Well, we just want to cash tickets, Sam. That's all we care.
That's all I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do.
I was trying to listen to a video while you were talking there, so I apologize. Apparently, there's an Ace Bailey video floating around in the timeline after he threw out the first pitch at the Mets game, and somebody was saying, go to the Sixers, and he turned around and made a beeline the other way.
Really?
And now everybody's all upset about it. Whatever about that. I don't care about that. I'm more irked about the way he handled it at the podium the other day.
And that was like his PR team, and this is what we know is he's been getting bad advice, and that was his PR team. He practiced those lines, control what you can control.
Yeah, but come on, and I'm not trying to come at you, but I'm going to push back. It's him. He is the guy. Yeah, I get it. Okay, he's got bad advice. That's fine. This was the moment that you could look everybody in the eye and say, you didn't hear that from me. No, this is what I want to say. This is how I feel about what situation. I'm not
But it's
asking.
true. But it's true. It's not like everyone's painting him in this false light. What the people are saying is true. He is trying to control his destination. He doesn't want to go to certain spots. So he's not going to go up there and say, oh, that's all BS on sports, because it's true. He's pretty much admitted it's true by not saying that.
That's fair. That's fair. But at the same time, he came off smug. He came off arrogant in that moment for a lot of people that just saw him for the first time. That was the first time that Ace Bailey talking, forgive me, Rutgers, I apologize, but people weren't watching him play or listening to him talk after a Rutgers game last year. So for a lot of average people out there, that was the moment that you could look the America in the eye and go, you know what? And now forget America, forget average Joes, other general managers, other teams out there and say, I didn't say that. Those words aren't coming from my mouth. You never heard me say that. This is how I feel, though. I want to, and then Sam, all I'm asking you is to give me the stock cliche nonsense answer. Like, I can't wait to be drafted. It's been my dream. I don't care where I go. I am looking forward to competing and making a team better. And he didn't do that. He came off smug and arrogant. And I'll tell you right now, forget the Sixers. If I'm a general manager in any league, and it's true what you're saying about his concern about the second contract, that's your number one concern? That's your number one concern right now. Young man, you got a long way to go. There have been a lot of great players that have come into this league that didn't do squat. So here he is talking about, again, not his words, but if we're believing what's being put out there, the second contract, which it is important. But all in all, damn it, if I'm a general manager, I don't know if I want that dude or I'm going to invest draft capital to pick him in such a high pick at 4 or 5, whatever it is.
I'd call it immaturity, and that's what we know about him. And like everything you're saying is 100% right. You should be his PR manager. He'd probably go higher in the draft.
I would help him.
I think it's everything we know about him. I think it's everything we know about him. He's not a bad guy. It's not like he gets in trouble or anything. But you're calling arrogant, smug, and all that. I think it's just a lot of immaturity that you're seeing on display, and you're seeing of how he's handling this process, and he's listening to the wrong people. And that's even what other pro players are saying, and that you're even seeing people around the NBA saying that he's listening to the wrong people. Sharif Cooper's agent, that is, Sharif Cooper's dad, who's representing him. So yeah, it's immaturity to me, and that's why he's going to fall. And it's like I've said before, he's not good enough to be dictating his terms. He's not this surefire prospect. He's really talented, don't get me wrong, or a lot of raw talent, but also a lot of question marks. So he should not be dictating where he gets to land. But he's trying to, and we'll see whether that's a successful approach or not in the next few years.
We shall see. I know you're going to be tuned in. You're rocking and rolling for the folks over at The Score. We got a lot going on over these next couple of days. I will say this, Sam, it's actually fun to care about the 76ers again.
Yeah, but not in this light. You should have been caring about them in May, not when it's the draft in late June.
Who, me?
No, not you specifically. I'm saying Sixers. I'm not saying Sixers fans. Like Sixers fans would like to be caring about them in May, not in June.
Well, again, I'm a selfish guy. You know that. So I'm looking at it from my perspective going, this is the first time since November that I'm actually entertaining a Sixers conversation. We spent 2 hours talking really specific about the 76ers. It is the NBA draft. But I don't think I spoke 2 hours about the 76ers in total all last season. That's how much of a disaster it was. So at least it's fresh. Let's give me a little bit of a new one. Yeah, I got one more for you before we get out of here. Sorry, I meant to ask you this. Where do you stand on Daryl Morey's job security? And I ask you this because, it could come into play for this pick at number 3, right? I don't think he's going to draft somebody differently if he does. Like, Daryl Morey probably is comfortable no matter what, but Daryl Morey's seat should be hot, correct?
Yeah, it should be hot. Absolutely. It's not his fault what he's done. Like, when you really look at all these moves, he's drafted well. Tyrese Maxey was in the 20s. Jared McCain was in the 20s. Obviously a good talent evaluator. You can criticize him for giving Joel Embiid the big extension. Most general managers would have done it. It's just something you have to do in that setting. Coming off the season that he's had, and MVP a couple years before that. Again, Paul George looks disastrous now, but it was lauded as the best free agent move. It was okay. Daryl Morey created cap space for that summer to get a guy like Paul George, and he finally got him. And everyone was singing Daryl Morey's praises because of it, but now in hindsight, it doesn't look like as good of a move. So there's no like egregious moves that he's made, like he's some awful general manager. And I also think that Josh Harris is a little disconnected. I don't really think he cares about the Sixers like that. I think he's a little disconnected, and he's saying, Daryl Morey, do your thing. If it gets so disastrous where the Sixers are just an abomination again next year and same thing happens this year, I think Daryl Morey is certainly out the door. So his job security is 100% safe, but I also think Josh Harris trusts Daryl Morey enough to be like, all right, if you have a good regular season, make a playoff run, whether that's a second round. If it's Eastern Conference Finals, that would be a Super Bowl for Sixers fans based on how the last couple of decades have gone. But if it's a second round exit, whatever it is, I think Daryl Morey is pretty secure. The question to me is, does Daryl Morey want to stick around? Like, depending on what happens with Joel Embiid and his health this season, does he want to stick around? Why would he want to start? It's not a rebuild the Sixers would have to enter in the post-Embiid era because they have some pieces in place. But does Daryl Morey really want to restart with a team? Because he's really been general managing and been a part of contenders. Even if you don't want to call the Sixers a contender last year, entering the year they were. So in the last decade, Daryl Morey, every single season has gone into the year thinking he has a contender. So I don't know if he wants to stick around for a team that might not be that in the post-Embiid era. I think his job is pretty secure, but the Sixers can't have a disastrous season, which is why this pick is important and some pending free agent moves are important. Again, I also think Bob Myers is circling. I think Bob Myers is definitely circling around the Sixers, maybe waiting for a Daryl Morey exit, whether that's his side or the other side. But I still think Daryl Morey is years away from getting canned as the Sixers GM.
Interesting. I would say team success, like you pointed out. Yeah, if they're not able to turn it around next year, he's in trouble, and rightfully so. He should be. That was
what's the definition of turning around? Like if they're a top 4 seed and lose in the first round in a really competitive series, is that not enough? Like after this disastrous season, that's better, but that's probably not enough for most fans.
Yeah, he's probably done if that's the case. Like I think you got to turn it around and show some promise here. And I'm not necessarily sold it's going to happen next year. And I'm trying to be as positive as possible, but I just don't see anything great revolving around Joel Embiid's health. Paul George, you got to temper those expectations. He's clearly not Paul George of what we think of. I do believe Maxey, who played well last year, I will give him the benefit of doubt. It was a tough spot for him, but I think he is ready to say, get out of my way, dude. I can't let this happen again. I got to be locked in because what's Maxey approaching? Like, dude, snapping of fingers and your career is already like moving. And, you're talking about creating a legacy here. And Maxey has a hell of a great start to his career, but man, like last year was so disappointing. He doesn't want to have that happen again. So I don't know. It's there's a lot that we expect to be answered once the season gets going here. One quick one, though, on Daryl Morey. He is into the theater world now, so maybe he could ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, what was that? He did a play somewhere in Philly. What was the play?
Commissioned a play by the name of Small Ball. That's what it was. It was something stupid. I mean, whatever. Your pretty little heart desires. Who am I to, poo-poo anything that excites someone out there? I just want everyone to be happy, Sam. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Happiness for all. That's what we preach here. That's what we preach here.
Damn right. Is the only team that's going to be happy tonight the Dallas Mavericks, though, with Cooper Flagg, or do you think the Spurs are going to be very happy with Dylan Harper and so on and so forth?
I think 1 and 2 are going to be very happy. Both those teams have great futures, and the fortune that the Mavericks were gifted, I mean, still unbelievable what happened at that lottery. Just a disastrous ownership group, the dumbest, worst general manager in this sport, maybe in all of sports, in Nico Harrison, who's so petty and small they had to trade Luka Doncic because Luka Doncic was bigger than him. Just how lucky that organization got by getting the lottery with a 1% chance of landing the number 1 pick in the draft after making the worst decision in all of professional sports history, the worst trade in all of professional sports history. And it might not be looked at in that light anymore just because of how lucky they got. But they should still be criticized for it. So it's unbelievable, the Mavericks' reversal of fortune, where they're gonna leave tonight with a generational prospect in Cooper Flagg.
Look, they got number 1 overall pick down there in Dallas. They got a good coach in Jason Kidd. But I'll tell you what, like, if they're not healthy, Anthony Davis isn't healthy, and Kyrie, what's his deal? I know he signed a new 3-year deal, and that's great, but he got hurt. So just these guys aren't healthy. What are we talking about with that team? They're not going to be successful either next year, but they do have Cooper Flag on the team. So
people are seriously overrating this Mavs team, and they're going to sign a point guard, whether that's a Chris Paul or a D'Angelo Russell or someone like that, to weather the storm until Kyrie comes back. But really, your primary perimeter creator is our 18-year-old rookie entering the year. And I love Cooper Flag. I think he's going to be a superstar. But when you think about it from that perspective, how is this team going to be that good? They just re-signed Daniel Gafford. They have a lot of size, but almost too much size with Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis isn't that healthy. Isn't consistently healthy. When Kyrie comes back, he's old too. It's come back from an ACL injury. He's old. Why? And he was awesome the last couple of years before his injury. But why is anyone to assume that he's just going to reemerge as the same type of all-star level talent coming off that ACL injury immediately whenever he returns, whether it's February, March, or whenever it is before the playoffs? So I don't think this Mavericks team is going to be that good. And they could move some guys. They obviously some free agency stuff could happen where they could bolster their roster, but people are crowning the Mavs just because of Cooper Flag, and they'll be good down the line once Cooper Flag develops into an all NBA level player and has the right help. But I don't think this Mavs team is some juggernaut next year at all, or even close to a contender in the West.
I like it. All right, Sam, quick one on the way out. Last night, I saw F1 in movie theaters. What's the last movie you saw in a movie theater?
Probably Oppenheimer.
Oh, that was a great one. Nice one. I didn't even
awesome.
see that.
That was just an all-time movie I had to see in theaters.
I didn't even see that in theaters.
Really?
Oh, I would die to see that in theaters now. That's for sure.
So what is F1? Because the only F1 I know is the arcade that we went to.
The arcade, that's right. Yeah, man, it was a movie. So my question to you is this: as a man who writes and a man, you're about town. You, very sophisticated. Sam Oshtry is at times. Let me ask you: when somebody asks you to rank, rate, or review a movie, should you include the way it plays in a movie theater, meaning the sound, the thump, the IMAX experience? Like Oppenheimer, right? Great movie no matter what. Don't care where you see it, but that would enhance a little bit of the flavor, correct? That movie last night was action-packed. You had a superstar in Brad Pitt, great cast, good looking. The racing scenes were great. Soundtrack was awesome. But if you ask me, as cousin Nikki did, to rank or to rate the movie, I don't know why I keep saying rank, sorry, to rate the movie, I said 4 stars, 4 out of 5. But if you take that out of the movie theater and I watch it at home, I'd probably go 3 stars.
Is that the movie with Dakota Johnson and Brad Pitt? Who's Brad Pitt's co-star in that? And that'll answer your question. I feel like
is she in F1? No, I don't think so. I don't know, though.
All right. So the answer to your question is no, you shouldn't take that into account because the vast majority of people are watching movies on streaming.
Yeah.
It's on streaming. So most people are going to see that movie, whether it's Oppenheimer, F1, or whatever it is, on a screen in your home. So it shouldn't be taken into account. Oppenheimer was amazing. That was a movie I thought I had to see in theaters, but at the same time, it would have been just as good.
It was
at home. Exactly.
I watched Oppenheimer on my phone on a flight.
On your phone?
On my phone. It was great.
It was incredible. So no, it shouldn't be taken into account. If a movie's only going to be good in theaters, it's not actually a good movie. It's the home experience that matters because that's where most people are watching.
All right. I would say if you get an opportunity, go catch F1 in theaters. It was awesome.
I wanted to see Sinners really bad in theaters, but I never got to it. Is that still in theaters?
I don't know, but Mark Henry Jr. claims that's the best movie he's seen in 25 years.
I gotta see it. Michael B. Jordan, what spitting in Josh Allen's mouth.
Oh, jeez. Now we're talking. Good grief.
Call me sophisticated.
My Lord. Sam, you're the best. Enjoy the draft. We'll continue to follow you on all things socials. Read you at the score. Tomorrow, recapping. You're with me in studio tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Natalie's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. So I think we'll have Bernard mixing in as well. Talk a little about the Sixers perspective. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Enjoy it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
My man, there he is. Sam Oshtry once again joining me on the Gambler stream there. All right. Speaking of Sean Bernard, he's coming up next. Just right back to the NBA draft, man. Front and center. This is what it's all about. No lies. Look, from the perspective of Major League Baseball, we did have some day action happening here and haven't been keeping up with it. Sorry about that, to give you the updates as far as finals are concerned. I did see, I actually want to bring that up because Skeens got the start, and I think that's pretty important to bring up for the prospects of Cy Young, which Zach Wheeler's on the mound. And, oh, by the way, he shut him down after giving up 4. What did he go here? Paul Skeens today. Ooh, he was pulled into 4th. Okay, so we have 4 complete, gave up 4 earned, only struck out 4. They ended up losing 4-2. And as I said, with Zach Wheeler on the mound this evening, we got an 11-1 ticket for Zach Wheeler to win the NL Cy Young. I thought that was a good shot to take. 2 weeks ago? He's down plus 450. Skeens at minus 250. So it's Paul Skeens' award to lose. We know that, but those are the starts that will obviously eat into that lead there. So hopefully Wheeler can mow him down. Good Astros lineup. They do not strike out a lot. I do like the Phillies to win tonight. I think you're going to have a bounce-back performance from those bats. Got to be frustrated with the way that they approached at the plate last night, 0-for-7 in running scorer's position. And, oh, by the way, Ranger delivered like he did, not to get him a single run. Come on, man. You got to be better than that. Wheeler on the mound, you have to give him run support. So I like the Phillies tonight. Wheeler, I'll take the under on the strikeouts and 6.5 as well. See if we can cash a couple tickets. NBA draft, though, front and center for us here on The Gambler. Sean Bernard joins me on the other side. Hey, 6 o'clock, back over to the PGA Tour. Them boys are feisty. I saw Colin Morikawa getting upset at some reporter today. He got the back and forth with Rory. Keegan Bradley, of course, what's taking place with him. Great job by him. Really excited about the Ryder Cup coming up here a little bit later this year. With Bradley being the captain. A lot to discuss as far as the PGA Tour and Philly golf. And nobody does it better than the folks over at Swingin' and Ding It. That's coming your way at 6 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock, Football is King with Nick McClay and Ryan Beef Coyle. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Sean Bernard joins me next. More after this.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.